boy. Alright, hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're actually going to go ahead and try to install the charge pipe with the blow-off valve. And I think that's all. Alright, stay tuned, here we go. What we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and remove the two air filters, the new ones. And down in this area we're probably going to go ahead and pull that plastic piece and the lower piece and go ahead and take those off just so we have the extra room, so when we start pulling the charge pipe out we don't have to fight anything. But first we're going to start on the filters and get those things pulled. Alright, so the actual clamps that came with it, they are 7mm on the socket, and I like to use a socket if I can. Well, this side is, and I think I might be lying to you. Yeah, I think it was. And so we'll pull that off. I think the actual inside one is a 6. I think it's the factory one. So yeah, it's a different size. Or a flat screwdriver. You can actually just take a flat screwdriver and take it loose. And this is the factory side that this clamp is. And so what we'll end up doing with these, that's where we had pulled all this cable tray and stuff off. We'll try to push these back some and dress this up a little before we finish up with this install, but we'll get those kind of out of the way. And what we will end up doing, there's a couple of hoses. These the bypass pieces will actually go away. So once we get to that, we'll gain a little more rooms, and you'll see once we get all that situated. But for now, we're going to go ahead and pull the filters off. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull this lower piece off and gain us some room right here in this piece. It's a T25, I think. It's a T20. And so we'll take the T20. All of my sockets and stuff are in the rollback, so just bear with me here. Not all of my sockets, but my impact, and a lot of that stuff is still in there from where we went drifting. But not everybody has impacts. I'm kind of spoiled with my electric impact. And so these little T20s right here will actually take this piece, as you probably saw it letting go here, and you can see it here. As you back these screws out, that allows that to loosen. We get those screws out. I may end up getting the replacement piece for this. There's you can get them red, blue, green. And this vacuum, this is actually to your brake booster. There should be a clamp that you squeeze on these, but mine's broken. It was that way when I got the car. So, not really anything I can do with that right now. But removing this piece will allow us access to here. That's what we're trying to get. And that will go back on, this whole piece. But eventually, we will probably try to upgrade some of this stuff. But, alright, so let's get ready to pull this filter off. Okay, this filter, we'll take it from the back side here with the factory clamp on it. We'll just pull it from there. And you can see the insert piece, that's part of this Burger Motorsports kit. And there's several companies that make these. I'm thinking these are the Burger. These are actually the VFSF, and that's what this charge pipe will get moved over here so you can see a little better. So what we're going to change, this piece here, these tubes here, this tube where it hooks to this pipe will move, and the boot there's a boot here, and it hooks onto the actual throttle body right here. So we're going to take that section out, which, if you can see here, these actually clamp on. I'm not sure how to pull them off just yet, but we'll unhook these from where they live, and we'll block that actual plug, that side of it. That's where the plugs come into play. And this one, if you can see, this one will go up to here. Let me get you backed out here. This one will go to here, from here, and we'll plug it. And so these will go away, and that charge pipe will come out, and we'll actually change that, put a different style in with the blow-off valve. So that's what we're working on. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these clamps off on the top. I'm not going to pull the pipe or any of that stuff off yet, and I want to pull this piece off and to see if our plug or actually our caps will fit this, if that's the right thing. If it's not, we may not be able to do this install just yet. We'll have to get something else to actually cap that off with. All right, so I've never had any experience with this type of clamp, so took me a second to figure it out. So I'm gonna make it a point to show this clamp. If we can see it well enough, let me make sure. All right, so this clamp has a collar on it. See the gray piece right there? Now this piece actually, and you can see, I don't know if you can see right there. I'll get the camera closer. Okay, now I think we can see. Okay, this gray piece right here, there is a little gray piece here, but you can see that little gray slot right there, if you can see that slot. All right, so that gray thing actually turns. So when you grab that, I think it may have clips in the ends on the outside, but that turns, and you can see that turn, that little thing in the window there. All right, so now that is, the gray thing that was here is now moved over. And so once you do that, that just slides off. And so we do have the correct thing to put on those. So that those caps that came will absolutely be what we need. So good deal. Okay, so you can see the other pipe. Well, these actually have a vacuum on top of them, and this vacuum will come into play with your blow-off valve. That will actually go to the top of your blow-off valve. So it's got a T right there, or Y rather, in these vacuum line. So this vacuum line will actually go to your blow-off valve, and so we'll deal with that later. So I have to turn this gray piece here. Will work just like the other one, and it just comes off. And so we'll undo this one. We'll take this one from the other hose clamp, or from the other piece rather. I'll undo this hose clamp, get it loose enough, and then voila. So these two deals will actually go away. These are a permanent delete, minus the vacuums, which may have to be cut. But we'll deal with that in a minute. Okay, now you can see the charge pipe is here. Now on the neck of it, where it actually goes to the throttle body, there's a clip. So we'll have to find a, a pick of some sort, which this may work. We may be able to take our screwdriver and just slide it under it and kind of manipulate it up, and voila. So there's your clip. That's what holds that on there. Now this VF, or I think it's a VF SF piece, is actually a name brand piece, and it fits. So I'm not gonna say the other piece is of this quality, because it is definitely an off-brand piece, and so we will determine that shortly. So this hose clamp, I've got to find what size this is and loosen it. And again, on the back, on this side over here, I always forget to flip my lens around. So back here on the back, so your throttle body's here. So you come right around behind here, and there's a clip right here, and you need to undo that clip. I'm not sure 100% how it's on there, but I know there's a clip that lives here because you have a sensor that goes on the back. So you have like this, and the sensor goes in the back of it here. So we have to make sure we get that sensor off. So I'm going to try to figure out how that clip is on there, and then I'll find something for this clamp to loosen it, then we'll change that out, or get them at least loose. Alright, so this hose clamp from the VFSF was a 10 millimeter, which is good. So we got that hose clamp loosened up. Should be good there. And so we go to this side of the charge pipe and rock it back and forth and get it to come loose. And alright, so there's the old one. So now we got to change this sensor from this intake to the other one. Okay, so there's some similarities and there's some differences in these two pipes. The one that was on there used the factory, whatever the tubes are called that go to the other charge pipes, for vents, recirc valves, recirc vents or something. Okay, now these come with the plugs in them if you want to ever add any kind of features, nitrous, maybe methanol injection or anything like that. Okay, so I was looking at this one. This one's missing. So we've had possibly a boost leak since day one, or at least since I've had it. This one wasn't in there. I don't know how much, it's going to make overall. I mean, it's obviously going to make some kind of power difference, but that one was actually gone. So you definitely want to check these. You want to tighten them. If it feels like they're not tight or won't tighten up, then you need to maybe put some Loctite on them or something. My first problem I ran into with this cheaper one is, if you'll notice, there's a silver one here and a black bolt here. This one, like maybe it wasn't long enough or something, it wouldn't tighten up, and so I end up using the ones that was in the original pipe, and I changed it over. So I don't know what was going on there. So I did have to use one of those old bolts. And so we're going to tighten this, and we're going to grab the blow-off valve, and we're going to go ahead and take it apart and get ready to install the the spring and the accessories there. So we'll get to that, get this stuff kind of shifted around, and let me find all the Allen wrenches and stuff I need. It's always good to have you some Allen wrenches and sockets and things of that caliber available. I have the way I like to use them. If I can, you can't always get them in there, but I like to use them on a socket. That way I don't have to fight them. Usually you get more torque that way. You can always get an extension, add to it, gain some reach on them if they're way down in somewhere. And it's just, to me, it's more convenient to have it on a socket style like this. These are loose, so a couple of them were, that one wasn't. I'm assuming we were supposed to take this apart and put the spring in, and it's been a while since I fooled with a wastegate, or a blow-off valve rather, and yeah, that one was loose. Okay. Best I can remember, it was a pain to get it closed with the spring in that deal. So we'll get everything took apart. There may be a spring in it, I don't know. It didn't come with any kind of directions. We're going to find out. And these swivel, so you know, if you don't land it just perfect, these actually turn. And you can actually turn it and then tighten the bolt back down and get what you need. As far as the angle, if you end up putting it in the wrong place or tighten it down on the charge pipe and want to move it, you can change that angle with just by swiveling that around. Yeah, this thing's already trying to push apart, so it's going to be a bear to put back together. They usually are. It's been a while since I've done one, but I remember them being a pain to get together and take apart, especially with the big spring in them. Oh, we still got one in it. No wonder it wasn't coming apart. Probably going to jump out of my hand if it's already got a spring in it. They want to. They put tension on these doodads. Yeah, it's got a spring in it. Now, I don't know what the difference is in the springs. All right, let me see if there's any markings on the springs and see if I can figure any of this out real quick. Okay, so after further deliberation here, I still don't know what this second spring is as far as the boost. It is definitely going to be a thicker one, harder to push. So what the difference will be, this may be an 8-pound spring and this may be a 15. So let me try to work that out. Well, I wouldn't imagine it would really. Let me work this out. Okay, so after going back through the kit that I'd purchased and going back to the listing and information, the smaller spring is only a 6-pound 5.80. Okay, these cars come out factory with 8 pounds. Okay, so if we're running 8 pounds, this is always going to be open. It will never close. It will always be venting to the atmosphere. Now, it may, like say if you let off and you're not making any boost pressure, 0 or a idle or something, but when you're making 8 pounds, this will open before you even hit max boost pressure. Okay, this one is rated at what I see, 18 and a half. I think 18 and a half is what I read on the description. And so we're going to go with the harder one because we are planning on eventually turning this thing up. And the wastegate really determines your, the wastegate spring actually determines how much boost pressure you have, or the engine management or the computer itself determines how much boost you got. This is merely to the blow off effect, So this is not control how much boost you have. This controls at what boost your blow off valve discharges your boost. And so I think the 6 is going to be way too low. So all right, I'm going to fight this one. This one's going to be rough, I can already tell. I need the actual, I've got a vise, but I'll try to do it with it, but I need one of the clamps that actually grab those. And yeah, let me try to get this thing together. It's going to be a pain. All right, I got it in the vise, I got it together. I took a makeshift kind of protector, just some cardboard or something, and with it in the vise, you can't hardly get a swing at it, so I ended up having to get just a regular Allen and kind of roll them just a little bit at a time, because if you do, and I didn't clamp it all the way, it's still got a gap in it, so I don't get it out of square and not be able to get one of the bolts in. But if you do get one bolt or something in, you don't want to just let that tension, because this one's actually a pretty heavy duty spring, you don't want to just let that one bolt try to hold that weight in there, because it will literally pull that bolt right back out if you don't have, you know, with it being aluminum and there's not a ton of threads. I would say you want at least 3 or 4 in there before you let any of the tension off, and try to get them pretty close to the same distance in so it doesn't kick to the side, one side come out further than the other, to try to get it kind of kick sideways. And there's better methods of doing this, but I know it's one of them, I gotta do what I gotta do kind of thing. And I'll get them in there pretty much the same distance, and I will let the tension off, and so that way it doesn't pull to one side or the other, or try to pull one of the bolts out. There's a lot of tension in here. And so you can still see the bushing inside. Now, it came with another O-ring. I think that's just a, and see now when I push it up tight, I feel it hit the aluminum like it's trying to pull it in. And so I stop. I do them all that way. And once I get pretty much right there to that point, I'll let the tension off, and a little bit at a time, and make sure it doesn't do anything crazy. But I think the extra O-ring it came with it is for maybe just a replacement down the road, because I couldn't find that it needed it. Everything was in place that it needs. Alright, so moment of truth. Yep, we're gonna hold. So there it is, and again you can see some of the red in there, possibly. I don't pull it all the way tight. Well, this one actually was. I try not to leave where I can kind of go, you know, opposite sides, kind of torquing it down to get it to set flush without catching the seal inside there. And maybe where it's just looser on one side and it's kicking up. I think it is. But I think we're, good Lord, it's gonna be a different kind of spring things in there. But all right, let's we'll get that thing tightened up, get all the bolts in it, and get it snugged, and we'll be ready to put it to the charge pipe. All right, so now, once we get to this part, we're looking at putting our clamp on. So with this clamp, that's going to hold these two together. That's actually going to mount that on there. So we're going to have to pull that off and open this. So we can get that on there. You can see that's got like a lip. If you can see that lip, that's where the half of it catches here and the half catches the actual intake. And so I know this needs to point back towards the throttle body. All right, now we find our little tightening utensil. So we need to tighten that up and check tighten these guys up, make sure these are tight, and then we'll be ready for install. All right, I'm gonna tighten these up, then we'll get ready to install this thing. Okay, this should be about what you're looking at once it's finished product. Now you can turn this whichever way, as far as the coupling, and I didn't go super tight with it. These things tighten like crazy. If I have to tighten it up once I get it on there, I can. And both these bolts were loose, so I did tighten both of them up. Got our sensor in there, and you can go ahead and put this dude on while we're here. So once you push that in, that actually will click and lock on. But from the way that come off, this side should go in first, then this click up. The way everything kind of come off, it's the way it felt like it should go. So let's get turned around here and let's try to see if that's what we want. We may end up changing this spring, but the good thing is with this coupling, I can just pull it back off. So I can't make up my mind if that's gonna be too much or not enough, but we will see. Here we go. All right, so again, like I say, I feel like that end should go in first. I'm gonna pull this reservoir off real fast. Okay, so far, once I pulled this reservoir up and to the side, that went right down into place. I slid that side in and laid it down and locked it in. So we're locked in pretty solid. So we'll tighten up this coupling on this side. I already see that the vacuum's not going to be long enough, and it didn't come with any vacuum. And this car's parked until I figure out the water pump and this other stuff. But I hadn't got started on it yet, but I did want to go ahead and do all this. I don't think I'm going to have to come back up to the top and work on anything once we get up here, but so far everything fits. I mean, even if the wastegate's not any good, I think the charge pipe's going to be okay. I think we're good with the charge pipe. I do believe that was a win. Okay, now from the guys at Boost Monkey, we've got these guys, and these are our caps. So they will go on top of that and this piece, and so that we'll be able to cap off the other sides of these pipes. So looking at this, there's no way that vacuum's going to be long enough to hit here. It's just not going to happen. So I may have some vacuum. I'll have to dig through that and see if I do. So keep that in mind if you get this kit, which I think even some of the higher end kits I had saw folks talking about that they didn't have enough vacuum with their kits. I think that's a common thing. So you may want to go ahead and try to measure out for that vacuum, or make sure that kit that you have or buy or purchase or whatever you do with it has that vacuum for the wastegate with it. So, or blow off valve, I'm sorry. So put our block offs on, and it is stubbed out, so you do want a cap, you don't want a plug. I didn't know how it was going to be when it come off. I was assuming that it was going to be we would need a plug. So that gets our plugs on, or our caps rather. Keep in mind you're putting it on plastic, so you don't want to tighten the absolute crap out of these and break that plastic. Alright, so that caps those. The actual charge pipe is on. So now it opens up a ton of area. You know, once we get our filters in, if I have a vacuum here, move this stuff further out like we had intended. We'll clean that up. So realistically, we are gonna have to figure out this vacuum here. Make a decision. Yeah, there's no way that's gonna reach. So let me see if I can come up with some vacuum, and we'll be able to finish the vacuum part of it and put our filters in, because I can't get to this vacuum here if I put my filter in. So I don't know how that's going to go. All right, let me try to figure out something on this vacuum. All right, so definitely not enough vacuum line. So I went outside on one of the cars I had and robbed some vacuum line just for tonight. And the old school plug I just cut a little piece because there's a Y and I don't have an adapter piece to like a straight piece. And so for the other side of the Y, I just cut an extra piece to kind of just kick out to the side and just plug it so I don't have a vacuum over here somewhere. So this way, you can see, I did a plug on the Y and I got everything hooked into this little Y. I'll get some more vacuum, maybe not tomorrow. I may end up working on a rental tomorrow, but so that gives me my vacuum to my actual blow-off valve. And I'm not gonna say that this blow-off valve, how it's gonna react, but I think as much vacuum as I actually have, if I just got a straight piece and done away with the Y, I think I could use what I actually have. But, so for now, for educational purposes, that'll tuck down there. So actually we're to the part where it's just the filter install here and then this section back on, and I think we'll be ready to fire this thing up and give it a rev and see if the blow-off valve made any difference. All right, let me gather everything up, get ready for that part, and I'll be back with you. So definitely with all this stuff up in this area here, for it being gone now, it is a night and day difference for this install. I mean, it's right here, it's nothing, you know. Whoa. And so that'll give us our filters back. Yeah. So we will be able to put our cone filters back on. So that gives us our plugs. I plugged up the sensor on the back of the intake. Alright, so we're good there. So we didn't pull both pieces of this one off, so we have just one clamp back on this one. So we can get that guy back there. Let me get her turned around here where we can tighten it. I try to always place my clamps in a position where it's easier for me to tighten than, you know, I guess the factory location would be. I try to make it as simple on myself, you know, if I ever go back, you know, and having to do anything. So try to make them convenient, even if it's not 100% aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't look correct, maybe. For some reason it doesn't feel like they're the same size, or it's just that loose. So I try to, I don't think it's it. We can do the old flat screwdriver. I'm more of a function over form kind of guy. I like things that work, that have a purpose, that, you know, have a reason to exist. If it doesn't do anything, there's no point in it. So if an upgrade doesn't actually do anything for my car, I'm not going to spend the money. All right, we eventually have to get a clip for that, but so the brake booster's on, the air intakes, the blow-off valve, tighten the coupling, that locked in when we put the throttle body on. I locked the sensor back in. So the air intake piece, and we'll be ready to rock. Again, I may eventually do away with this particular piece. There is like a ram style kind of deal, and if I figure out that serves a purpose and actually does replace this, and again it functions, it does something, or at least if it continues to do its job, not any less than what this does, if it at least works as good as this, if it looks a lot better, then you know it kind of serves a dual purpose. Then I'm about that kind of stuff too. I'm okay with that. But if it doesn't serve a purpose at all, it's hard to justify some of these things, you know. So I'm all in the camera here, but yeah, a lot of people will take these off, but see how it directs air right to your air intake, to your actual filters. I think that actually is still serving a purpose, you know. So a lot of people will take this off for, you know, to make it look okay. I see that that still has a function. So let's crank this jewel up and see what we did. All right, it's the first glance. I'm ready to fire it up. Let's see what this baby sounds like. Here we go. Well, it definitely makes the, I'm going the wrong way. It definitely makes the blow-off sound we were looking for. Is the spring too heavy? I don't know. It blew off. That's the idea of it. I can't help but think the one being at 6 pounds, it's going to be trying to open when it shouldn't be warranted. I don't think that's a good idea. So I'm going to run this one because it does blow off, and it doesn't have to be at max RPM or anything to blow off. It was actually, I was getting a flutter at like 3,500 RPM, maybe 4,000 something. And to me, that tells me that, you know, that seems okay. You know what I mean? It's not trying to get a flutter at 1,500 or 1,000. It sounded 335. I just done a short rev and I got a little bit of flutter, you know. So if it's trying to blow off at that RPM, I think that spring's about right. It may be a little much, I don't know. If it continues to flutter, I may try to, which I like the flutter on them. I actually like that myself, the, you know, instead of just a. So I may try the other spring just to see what it does, but I feel like that spring, after the air intake and you know, doing the other things that I'm doing, I think that 15.8, I think it's what, or 18, I think it might have been 18.5, something like that. I'm thinking 18. I think that one will be warranted once I get to where I'm going with the car. So, I mean, it's blowing off now. It sounds like it's getting plenty of pressure out. Yeah, I think I'm gonna run that. I'm still gotta look at the water leak issues. I'm not gonna drive it any. But if you wanna know how to do the cabin air filters, we've done that on this car. There's a video of that. If you want to see the charge pipe on this car, there's a video with that deal. And there's some other stuff coming. So there'll be some more install stuff with this car. And if we end up having to do a water pump, there'll be a water pump video. I don't know that it's not like maybe a radiator or anything else, because on these cars, the plastic starts way at the nose of the car and comes way back to behind the front tires. And it's completely sealed all the way across. And so anybody that is seeing leaks on this car ends up being close to the passenger side tire, kind of back. Well, that's because the plastic covers everything. So, you know, that only really tells you that it's more than likely going to be on the passenger side, but you've got that whole distance to kind of figure out where it's dripping. So it could be anything from, I think the water pump's kind of centered-ish to the right. The thermostat housing, I think those leak, or the hoses, or the reservoir and everything's on that side. So it's one of those, I really have to just get all that plastic off and run the car, make sure all the fluids are topped off, bring it up to temperature, build some pressure in the radiator, and just see what's leaking, because it is leaking. It's leaking bad enough that it needs attention. So I think since I've had this car, it's leaked a gallon, so I had to put a gallon of water in it, of coolant. Well, I use water, distilled water. So I have to address that. I'm not going to drive my car and tear it up when it's something I can fix. So with that being said, hey, thanks for watching our videos, guys. We appreciate it. I truly do appreciate you guys watching these videos. I really do. If you will like the videos, I want you to hit the little bell. And if you hit the little bell, you'll see the other videos that we post. Some are going to be car related, some are going to be drifting. It's going to be scattered all over the place. Some are rentals. Just humor me, if you will. So follow us on Instagram. It is Chesser Drifting. I think we're Chesser Enterprises or Chesser Motorsports, maybe both on Instagram. Facebook, definitely Chesser Motorsports. And if you need to email us for whatever reason, it's chesserenterprises@yahoo.com. And we actually set up an account. I don't have a lot on there yet, but I'm probably going to take some of these parts off of these cars. I mean, because this is all new stuff. You know, this car is 120,000 miles and everything under the hood looks brand new. So I'm probably going to sell some of that stuff. It's actually Chesser Motorsports on eBay. I've set up a specific account to sell our lanyards and decals and stickers and just everything we have, and some of these used parts that we're trying to get rid of. I've set up a specific eBay account, Chesser Motorsports, just all crammed together, Chesser Motorsports. And we'll be selling some of these items there. If you want any of the stuff we have, you can grab it from eBay. You can use a card nowadays. You can just go on there, pick out what you want, and pay with a card, debit card, credit card, whatever. You can use PayPal. I think there's other methods now to pay on eBay to help support this channel. And guys, I can't thank you enough. I want you to understand that the guys, even if you're not like one of my close friends, or if you're just somebody I happen to know and you're humoring the fact of watching some of these videos that are entertaining, or if you know you're working on some of these cars and you happen to think that maybe it's helpful to you. And I've actually had a guy the other day message me and tell me hey, appreciate the the detailed video. I do. The design of what I'm trying to do is to help people in the car world when I work on the cars. Even the rentals, maybe if you have questions, I've been doing it about 10 years. I've got a few rentals now, actually several. So if you have any questions about how to evict people, or maybe some repair stuff, if you have any kind of questions with that, I mean, I'm a jack of all trades. I can do all kinds of different stuff. I've done electrical, plumbing. I went to pipe fitting school for 5 years. I've done some welding. I'm actually a pipe fitter by trade. I made the 5th year apprentice, and I was out doing something else. And so, I bought and sold cars. I know how to, when you finance cars, and I put liens on them, all that different type of stuff. So, hey, if you're a young guy, man, and you hustle, and if you just need to ask somebody some questions and you just don't know, or if you're an older guy and you don't know how to work the internet, just try to figure out how to get a hold of me, and I'll absolutely try to help you all I can as far as being informative. I'm not going to give my number out on the internet or on TV or whatever we're doing here, YouTube. I mean, if you want it bad enough, you could find it, but I'm just not going to splatter that out there. But you can email us, message us. I'll talk to anybody about anything, guys. Just just know that I appreciate you guys watching these videos. I really do, and it helps us, build this channel up. So definitely share. I need you to share these things. Like, if you're on Facebook and you want to share it to, maybe a different page or your page or anything that, platform that you can share these videos to, we'd appreciate that, because that's going to broaden the horizon here. That would really help us. So if you will, do that. And again, guys, thanks for everything. Thanks for everybody that watches their videos and shares and likes and is involved. Thanks for everything. Thanks, guys. All right, here we go.